The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 692. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have an amazing lady on the show today. She's a medical student and a social media influencer, and I'm really excited to have her on and share her story with us today on self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Sarah Rav. Sarah, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Yeah, well, hi. Firstly, thanks for having me. I'm going great today, thank you. As you mentioned, I'm a medical student. I study in Australia at Monash University. And apart from that, on the side, I also run an Instagram account, which is just my name, at Sarah Rav. And with that account, I try to basically promote exactly what you are doing: self-confidence, body positivity, and of course, my passion, which is health and fitness.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Sarah, what's your cultural background?
Yeah, so I was born in Malaysia. My whole family was born in Malaysia, so I identify as Malaysian. But I moved to Australia when I was 5 years old. So I basically grew up in Australia. So in that sense, I also identify as Australian.
Thanks for sharing that. And what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
Yeah, so I guess I've always really been into science, and I strongly believe, that women have a role in science. So one of my favorite self-confidence quote comes from Marie Curie, it's a bit of a long one, so bear with me. Life is not easy for any of us. But what of that? We must have perseverance and, above all, confidence in ourselves. We must believe that we are gifted for something and that this thing, at whatever cost, must be attained.
Thanks for sharing that great quote. And in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
So self-confidence, I think, is having a belief in yourself and in what you can do. So it's accepting that you're not going to be 100% talented or professional at what you start with, or at something immediately at the start. Instead, you have to believe that you have the determination, have the perseverance, and that you will work as hard as you possibly can to achieve whatever that is. So basically, it sort of comes back to the quote that I stated before. It's not about being the smartest or the prettiest or having the most money to start off with, but it's about knowing that you can work hard, and that when you work hard, you will achieve what you want to achieve. And when you believe that, you have the confidence to do anything because you know that you will get there. Nothing will stop you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I mean, some of the people out there that you see, like some of them aren't like Harvard law students or like, they're dropouts, but they had that perseverance to keep going and going no matter what. I recently interviewed a girl who started her business at 19. Most people at 19 don't even think about starting a business, right? But like, she just persevered and just, kept on doing it until like she reached her goal. And now like, she has her successful business, but it took her over 10 years to get where she is today. And, it's not like, it's because she had that belief in herself and that perseverance and that worth knowing that she has the ability to do it even when times get tough. So I really like that definition that you mentioned. And Sarah, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
So I was, as a child and, as an adolescent in high school, I was very, very insecure. I cared a lot about what other people thought about me. I cared a lot about what my friends thought, or I even cared about like who my friends were, because I was hanging out with a cool group and stuff like that. And I would never try anything new just because I was scared of, failing and scared of looking bad while doing it.
Thanks for sharing that. I think that's something we all can relate to, right? Especially like failing. We see failure as like something bad, but really, failure is part of the process. And it's just like, like an indicator to tell you like, just keep going. This isn't it. Just keep going. Just keep going until I just think sometimes the school system makes it feel like failure is so bad. I mean, this is just coming from my own experience because, at 5 years old, I failed kindergarten for coloring outside the lines, and it like pretty much screwed me over. It was pretty much like, it just made me see failure as like something that was ultimately bad. But, it took me a while to realize failure is good. Failure is part of the process. And when we see it in that way, it's not as bad as we think. And, what was that point in your life when you realized like you were more than enough to go out there and, be who you are today and especially the message that you're spreading spreading, using your voice? What was that aha moment?
I don't really have a specific moment that I can pinpoint it to, but I do remember in high school suddenly just wanting to be better and I wanted to stand out. And so what I started to do, I just didn't want to be average. So what I started to do was I started to force myself out of my comfort zone and attempt new things. And I had the mentality that, yes, I'm not going to be great at it from the start, but I'm going to work until I get to where I want to be or until I get to become great. And so I started with small things at first, and as time went on, I started to, get better. And that was sort of a really positive cycle because as I got better, I got more confident, I worked harder, I got better, so on and so on. And a huge help to that for me was the first time I started working out because I wanted to get into weight training, which is not at the time, this was 6 years ago, and I was 14 maybe. This was not something that many girls did. If you were a girl and you went to the gym, it was to do cardio or to do yoga. But for me, I wanted to get strong. And so the first time I walked into the gym, it was terrifying because obviously it was filled with like big burly guys who knew what they were doing. And I was this tiny, small, timid girl who had no idea. But I talked myself into it. And I just picked up a weight and started doing, I think it was bicep curls or something. And it was just incredibly, incredibly empowering because suddenly it was like, I realized that none of these other guys there cared about what I was doing. If anything, they respected the fact that I was in the gym and working hard. And I think that was a huge moment for me because that was sort of the one moment when I realized that actually nobody cares if you fail and nobody cares if you're not as good as them or if you're not the best. All that they care about or all that they respect is that you're trying in the first place. And so that's sort of the attitude I've applied to the rest of my life. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. And it's so true, right? We feel like everyone's talking about us, but really like nobody's talking about us because they're so wrapped up in their own, like in their own lives, right? And the more we realize that, the more we are free to do what we want to do, right? Like you decided to start lifting weights, even though you were scared. You did it and you realized people were just in their own workout, right? Doing their own thing. And it's just like that. It's just like a sigh of relief that, you can go out there and do it and no one's going to like make fun of you or do anything. Right. And, because of those realizations, what's your life been like now?
Yeah, so I think that after realizing all of that, it basically opened up endless opportunities for me because since then I have not been scared of doing anything new. Basically, like to me, failure isn't a bad thing. Failure is a way of learning. And so I'm happy to try my hand at anything now. And I'm happy to do things like ask as well. And I think that makes a huge difference. For example, especially at uni. So I'm working in a hospital, I'm learning in a hospital, and I'm surrounded by doctors and consultants who have years of training and who are just incredible people. And it can be very, very intimidating as a student because, we're out of place, we're in the way, we know nothing. But for me, it doesn't hurt to just ask. Like, it doesn't hurt to ask a consultant, hey, I'm a student. Do you mind if I sit in with you on your surgery? And most of the times people say yes. They're not worried or they don't care that you're a student. They actually are thrilled that you're showing interest. And so me as a student, I've managed to sit in on so many of these surgeries. I've managed to, consult with so many of these consultants who are just incredible people to work with, whereas other students have missed out just because they've been scared to ask. So that's just sort of one example. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And, it's so true. Like, if we don't ask, we'll never know, right? I mean, like, even if it's a simple thing, like if you're traveling and you don't know where you're going, like, you just ask someone for directions, right?
I used to be so scared of that as well. Like, I'd just be like, in my head, I'd be like, no, I can't ask for directions. They're going to think I'm an idiot. Like, I got lost and they're going to judge me. But now it's like, well, hey, actually, they don't care. It's like 10 seconds of the day. They're not even going to remember you. Just ask for directions so you don't spend 2 hours going the wrong way.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, and most people are more than willing to help you out. Because, if it was the other way around, they would want the help as well. So, I think that's great that you're able to, ask questions because, it's just, it does help us build confidence, right? Even if we get rejected, at least we had that courage to ask the question. So thanks for sharing that. And, to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey to self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
like I said, don't start things expecting to be the greatest. It's fine to be a beginner. We've all been there. All you need to do is believe in your ability to put in the work. Believe that you are determined enough and that you will persevere to become great. Because if you believe in that, then you will become great.
Thanks for sharing that great tip. And Sarah, if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do and check out some of your work, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yep, so the easiest way to reach me is through my Instagram account, which is just at Sarah Rav, SARAHRAV. And once you get onto my account, you'll be able to see a couple of the other projects that I'm working on, which include a workout app, which I recently made, which is basically designed for girls who was in the exact same position that I was in with regards to the gym. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Sarah, you can also head on over to the taoofselfconfidence.com and search for Sarah's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I really just want to thank Sarah today for taking the time to share her story and tips with us on self-confidence. So thank you so much, Sarah.
No worries. Like I said, thank you so much for having me. And again, you're doing an amazing thing with this podcast. So yeah.
Thank you. And, it was great having you on the show. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com to check out cool resources, blog articles, show recaps, and so much more. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.